Boring, old, ported boxes. Man, Pat, I don't want to do a ported box, man. I had a ported box. It wasn't great. I'm a certified bass head, like whatever that means. So let's examine that for a second. Okay, so I get lots of men, young men, saying things like that, and it's like they want to shake me with their knowledge. I'm like, oh, shake me with your knowledge about bandpass and sixth order and all this kind of stuff. And the problem is their experience and their wisdom is all based on personal experience. What they don't understand is that there is more to the subject than just their personal experience. Sometimes I get these guys that prefer one brand to another. They go, oh, I had a JL system, blah, blah, blah. I go, describe it. And then they tell me they had like W6s and all this kind of, it was so amazing. And I'm like, the W6 is not that strong of a woofer. This is actually stronger than, it's actually on par with the W6 now, but it looks a little bit more because of the stamp frame with the old W6, the W6 V1. But anyways, so I think it's funny when I can, what's the word? I can see right through their bullshit. The problem is they don't think what they know is bullshit. Does that make sense? Like they don't even know, like, it's funny sometimes when I talk to people, like they don't even know they got ripped off, right? Like if any of you buy from Carvana or Drive Time, it's called Carvana. That's something else. Drive Time. I think those are actually a related group, or what was it? Forget the name of the thing. It's a nationwide or something. Anyways, there's a whole group of companies owned by super predatory lenders and car people that are their whole goal is to simply sell you something that's overpriced and has a poor value. So there's groups. We're talking about an army of people dedicated to bombarding you with advertisements and then taking advantage of your lack of experience. So AutoNation is the name of it. AutoNation. Do a little research on AutoNation and look at what dealerships they own, what other brands they own, what kind of financing they offer, things like that. Very predatory. Very bait and switch. And I know this because we bought a car from them one time and they didn't want to honor a lot of the things that they said. And then they wanted to go back and, charge us more for all this kind of stuff. Again, it's the same process that like Apple does whenever they take for granted that you were dumb enough to buy an Apple product in the first place, right? When you buy an Apple product, that means you don't know any better. You're dumb enough to pay that much money for a handheld computer that costs like $15 to make and deliver. Okay. That's how much it costs. And then you bought it retail at the Apple store for whatever it was, $1,200, $1,300, whatever it is. You're dumb enough to do that, then you're dumb enough to pay for the Genius Bar and all the other stuff. So that's their perspective. That's where they're coming from. Do you understand? It's not personal. They are trained. Their army is trained to do this to you, is trained to take as much money out of you as possible. And this is in all industries. So back to our bass head. So certified bass head. So what does that mean to him? It means to him that he likes a lot of bass, which is fine. I don't have any judgment on that. That's not the problem. The problem is budget. Okay. So one of the things that he quoted me was that he was going to pick up a Phi Neo 4. And when he got there, it was only a Phi Neo 3. And I said, well, what kind of box are you putting in? What kind of size do you want? He said, he wanted a 12 with the magnet out that does well in a small sealed box. I was like, that doesn't sound right. So what I know about Phi stuff is it's typically for basically bass heads. So that means the suspension is typically stiffer than it needs to be. And that doesn't allow the woofer to play low. It allows the woofer to play loud, but not at the frequencies that you want, that most people want. And so Phi uses basically the pay grade to, how's that? How did they say? Like if you want to fuck a girl with no condom at a whorehouse, like you can. You just got to find the right girl to do it. Do I recommend that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't recommend that. So, but can you? Yes, you can. So the idea that sort of what Scott has put into the website and put into the availability of stuff is to basically, you don't know any better. And so again, I'm not saying that Scott takes advantage of you, because he actually gives you a better deal relative to other brands, other vendors out there. And he also makes it in America, which is great. Blah, 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 all that stuff. It's fine. That's not the problem I have with him. I have the problem with people's experience with Fi and how they're related. Typically, if you remember, SMD, which is Steve Mead, really promoted Fi, and he got his signature woofer under the is it Avalanche Audio, AA? The Avalanche Audio, which is a sister brand, which was supported, of course, by Fi, Scott at Fi. And so he had that, basically his signature woofer, and they paid him a little bit of money, but mostly everybody won by Steve promoting that woofer as if it's a really, really good woofer, and if you want the best, blah, blah, blah. So there's a little bit of that in the Fi marketing. And then what he does is he prices it cheaper than you would, say, compared to like a 13W7, right? Which is $1,800. He's like, oh, you're going to spend $1,800? Let me give you something that's really going to have impact. And again, but those woofers tend to not be able to play below about 35 hertz. Tend to. I'm not saying all of them. Just look at the specs and be a smart consumer and sort of understand what you're buying. What most people really want is really low frequency. You're talking about down in the 30s with plenty of excursion. And anybody with any experience realizes that the most money that you're going to spend on the system is not on the system. It's on the support system. So, which is the electrical. So then you're all of a sudden you're talking about, $2,000 in electrical, and most people don't want to pay that. And so what you end up with is people that love bass, and then they think that they can cheat by taking a woofer that is darn right tootin' good, but then they try to get more out of it than it really can do. And that's where bandpass comes in. And that's where people try to use bandpass to cheat. You cannot cheat physics. You cannot cheat low end. You cannot cheat moving mass. That is what you want. You want a very heavy woofer cone moving very fast and a lot of excursion. That's what gets you the hair tricks and all the other stuff where it plays low in the 30s. That's how you get that. There's only one way to get that. You cannot do that with a port and a porta box pin and a seal box and a porta box, all that bullshit. You cannot cheat that. Okay, so you cannot cheat displacement. So I told him, I said, well, it sounds like you lack experience. And I said, I've been building subwoofers for the last 15 years, and I know a thing or two. If you'd like to come over, I can talk to you. So, all right, man, I'll come over and pick your brain. I was like, okay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, I can already hear the haters in my head when they go, Patrick, you're flexing on him. I was like, yes, I am flexing on that. I don't have to be a dick about it, though. You see the difference? And I want to know what he really wants to do. Now, he told me already that he already wants to spend $400 on the woofer, or he was willing to. And so I'm like, okay, that gives me a budget to work with. Now, what I think I'm going to try and do is basically find out the volume of airspace that he's going to give up. Like if he's doing it in a trunk or if he's doing it in an SUV or whatever he's doing. I'm going to try to get him a larger woofer, like a 15 or even an 18. And something with a big motor. And even if he's going to spend the same, that's what I'm going to try to get him. So you got to understand my position. I want to poison the well that people keep going back to for knowledge. And I want to spoil you. What I want you to get hooked on is the idea that I can get you what you really want for a low price. Because it's cheap and it's available. But typically, only I am the one offering it. You see how I do that? So I'm basically getting you hooked on a drug that you can't get anywhere else. And that's affordable bass that performs the way that you desire. See, all I had to do was like not do any of the other bullshit that the other guys do. And then also the pitch that I have is not a traditional pitch. It's not taking advantage of any of your vanities, your insecurities, or anything like that. I simply want to educate. And when everything is on the table, when you know about all the facts, it becomes obvious that I offer the best value available. See? So that's how you do it. So again, not saying I'm the best. I want it to be obvious that you should come do business with me, that you should trade knowledge with me, that you should do some sort of interaction with me. And I do that based on the rules of physics, the rules of logic, the rules of finance. And so that's what I'm trying to teach you guys, if anything. So, and that's one of the reasons why I say this is actually a really good woofer. I really, really like this woofer. It sounds great. It plays into the 30s. I'm going to go ahead and do a review on it. This is, of course, the Power Acoustic Gothic, which I love this. This is the Tian Li rubber surround, which we used for years and was probably first made popular by Nick Lemons over at Stereo Integrity. Double stitched. You can get the stitch in, I think there's like 12 different colors that you can get. And all I did was put this American-made W0 gasket. It's meant for steel stamped frames, which are thinner than the cast frames. It fits right on here. It looks great. A little used, not a big deal. But I'll sell these for $100 each. And you go, well, Patrick, these go new for $80, or at least they used to. I was going by the car stereo thing the other day at Walmart, and I think they got them for now for like $109, I think I saw them for. So, but again, I'm actually doing the same thing, which is I'm taking advantage of someone's knowledge of not even knowing. And I've removed the badge, the branding, so that they don't even know. Now, is what I'm doing wrong? I don't know. Is it? Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. What I could do to make myself, again, I want to make myself the obvious choice, is back this up with a 3-year warranty. Boom. Who does that? Nobody. And then it also goes two ways, which is, number one, what does the warranty cover? Again, this was the guy Sonny that came over, Sonny D. He wanted a forever for anything warranty, and I'm like, that doesn't exist anywhere. That's a unicorn. That does not exist. And so I sent him links to Phi, Kenwood, Sony, Sundown, any of them, and then none of them cover abuse, burning. See what I'm saying? So I can offer a 3-year warranty on this. And if there is a defect, guess what? I'll honor it. Does it cost me that much? No, because I've already got enough experience and equipment investment to compensate and cover any problems that I might have. Boom, that's how I do it. So, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and sell these for, let's see, I'll do the box at cost, which you can get these for about $60. So 100, 200, 60, 260 for the whole thing out the door. And these are good for 500 watts RMS. I think they rate them at 650. So then what I can do is I can offer, I don't include it into the deal, but I can offer on the side. I go, hey, here's 2 subwoofers in a box with a 3-year warranty for $260 out the door. And then what I'll do is I'll offer the wire kit and recoil RED 1200.1, which does 1500 watts for another 140. And that also makes an even number. People really like even numbers. So what does that put us at? The $400. $400 out the door. You get 4-gauge wiring kit. You get the 2 subs. You get a 1200 or 1500 watt amp. It's fucking badass. And then from there, you can then offer them, if you want to do an upsell, you can upsell the wire kit for another $20, $30, $40. You can sell a capacitor for another $20, $30, $40. You can sell a battery, all that kind of stuff. I'm fine with those. It's when they start selling stuff that you don't need. Where's it at? Oh yeah. So the relays, you can get these for $50 on Amazon. This is the 500 amp even. And I'll give it to you for $40, $45. So that's a huge bargain. Now to install it, $100. But again, it's still half price considering what a shop charges. See, again, there's room to make money. All you got to do is be smart and not greedy. And I was telling somebody about this the other day. I was like, I called him greedy, and he couldn't understand why I kept calling him greedy. And I said, greedy people are stupid. They see the now. They don't see the bigger picture. And basically being cool. Somebody also asked me about hot chicks. Like, Patrick, how are you able to deal with all these models and things like that? Whatever. When you meet them, I was like, I've learned to be cool. Don't be a crazy guy out of control that's ready to like go honk tits. That's not, you are going to be kicked out of that circle real quick. So, but if you're just basically cool and you kind of ignore them and treat them as humans and that sort of thing, guess what? Then they trust you and they know that you're not going to be a perv. Now, if something happens or they offer something, then okay. But until then, it's about being professional. It's about being cool. It's about helping them in a way that most guys would not, because most guys are, directed by their boners. And they, again, you got to look deeper into what that is that ends up making a baby. You want to make a baby. So if you remove that, right, and it's easier for me because my sex drive is lower, I'm able to control myself around hot women. It's not a big deal. And it goes the same thing with subwoofers. The way that I mastered it was by helping other people get what they want. And so if you want to master something, help other people get what they want. So it doesn't matter if it's pussy or if it's subwoofers or if, whatever, the car's got a lot of neon and all that kind of stuff. Help other people. See how much work is involved. And the trick is basically just be cheaper than the other guy. So when I first started, I used to call shops and I'd say, how much to install this and how much for the wire kit? I still do it. I have them go to a competitor like Audio Express, and then they do a printout, like a big CVS receipt. And then I just go down the list. I go, I can do better on this. I can do better on this. You don't need this. You don't need this. I can do without this. I can throw this in, on top of that. And typically I end up being about half. You go, well, that's a little too cheap. Well, is it? Is it? See, again, I'm thinking about a bigger picture. Now, sometimes I am only 10 or 20% cheaper. And sometimes that depends on the market and depends on what they want. So, but the real key is if you can come in at 40 or even 50% cheaper, and that's where you run into the other problem. The other problem is people think it's too good to be true. It's not. Just sometimes it takes longer than you expect. And then that's when I get people go, well, how about if you make this a priority? And then that's where you get paid the extra money to make things a priority and all that kind of stuff. I don't really do that stuff anymore, especially with building subwoofers. People jump on the line and shit like that. It caused a lot of problems. So now everybody just has to wait. You all equally suck. Just to me, you all equally need to eat a load of jizz, as AG says. So, but I wanted to share that with you before the guy comes over. And one last thing I wanted to share with you. Always think bigger. I saw these for sale still on Parts Express. I was looking at some goodies that I wanted to bring in, and I was pricing some stuff. And one of the things they have on there is a box terminal. Now, the box terminal, I think, is only $1, I think. It's a ABS 4-inch square cut out. And then on the flip side, it has, I think, a tweeter protect circuit and also some wires like that. And then it also has the little capacitor in there, which is, I think it's a 3.3 microfarad. Now, if you price 3.3 microfarad, sometimes they can be a little expensive, especially a non-polar type. Well, this thing, you get that plus all the wiring for $1. And what's even better is if you buy 50 or 100, your price goes down really quick. I actually bought 100 of them, and then I had high school kids come in here and cut all the things off, and now I sell the box terminal on its own for like $5, $10. And then this helps me when there's no supplies or I need wire or a bunch of other stuff. So again, if you think bigger, on a bigger scale, and how you can help more people and how you can do it in a better way, that's when you start buying bulk and things like that. And really, that's not a lot. Like even 100 terminals, no, maybe it is. That's $600. Or no, it's $60. That's cheap. That's nothing. So it's 60 cents each times 100. That's only $60. That doesn't even make the minimum for shipping, but it does help them because then they only have to ship a box of terminals. They don't need to break open the box and count them out and things like that. They just ship you the whole thing. So, and that's I can relate to that because I used to, and I still do. Sometimes I'll pull orders when I go to Recoil. They're like, hey, can you, or even Cicada, things like that. So I also have a bunch of PA stuff that I bought like that. Same thing. Those are always good money. A bunch of tweeters. So it's pretty generic. Right here, this is valuable. The resistor alone. If you cut that off, if you're able to remove it pretty easy or even bypass or whatever, sometimes you don't need it. Again, it depends on your application. A lot of these are surplus from whatever, some company that bought a shit ton from China and then they don't make that model anymore. And so they had like 2 pallets of these and then they sold them to Parts Express for like, say, $1,000. And then Parts Express sells them and makes like $3,000 to $5,000. And then even that's still cheap because on the open market, you can sell this for like $10 for one little tweeter that costs you like $1 from Parts Express. And that's, again, it's about being at the right place at the right time. And there's a little more to it. Sometimes you can coach things and sometimes you can, use some bait when you're fishing and things like that. And there's some other tips and tricks, but I'm really open about all this stuff. And I want to teach to you guys. Again, my goal is to get you to make $1,000 a week at home so you can be home with your family. And I tell you what, it makes a huge difference in your relationships, in your marriage, in your relationship with your kids, all that kind of stuff. That's a big, big difference. And it's funny, sometimes I get people and they go, oh my God, you got so much stuff. And I go, yeah, I do have stuff. Most of this stuff, probably about 80% of the stuff was just trades. Trades and buying bulk. That's it. And you go, no way. And I'm like, yeah, you do favors for other people. They do favors for you. That's worth more than the money. And we learned that in the recession. So, because we had to start taking trades because people had stuff, they just didn't have money. Now remember, recessions repeat. So that recession's coming. What are you doing in order to stay afloat? Make sure that your overhead is low. Don't have an expensive car. Make sure you have a cheap place to live. Make sure your expenses are low. Make sure you're not eating out all the time. Make sure, she's sustainable. She is affordable. And you go, oh, well, she gets what she wants. Well, again, think about if you can do better. Think about, again, and you go, oh, Patrick, that's terrible. That's the love of my life. Is it? Is it the love of your life? I don't know. When I was growing up, my parents were the love of my life. I loved them dearly. Turned out they were both assholes. I just didn't know it. I was too young to tell the difference. So what does that say about you and your maturity and your level of experience? It means you haven't been fucked over yet by someone that loves you, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen to everybody. I'm just saying it happens and it hurts and you'll survive, but it teaches you something, definitely. And that's what I want to do for here. Not that I want to do a Robert Kiyosaki or a Trump where I fuck you out of $5,000 to teach you a lesson, but in the bigger picture, I'd rather learn a $5,000 lesson than a $100,000 lesson. Does that make sense? So I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. I'm going to do the review here in a sec on the new Recoil SPM and SPX. I'm not finding anything on the web. I don't know why. They should be in the edgeholdings.com website and they're not. So I'm going to have to email them and find out what's going on. But I love you guys. I will talk to you later.